Hello, my little sparkles. Welcome back to Work Rambles, and today we're talking about the time that I was a substitute teacher. If you've been following along with all the other work stories, I've left the book factory because it was too much, and I had to find another job. And I became a substitute teacher during COVID. And it was interesting. This was still during the transition from going to the pandemic, when people were still kind of going back to in person. So some was in person, some not so much. So I was seeing some students in person, some not really. And where I was working in the district where I was living in. And the way it kind of worked was you had to sign up to work in a district. You kind of got to pick and choose. You would sign up and there was like this website link and you would see what jobs were available. And there would be ones like, hey, this elementary school needs a sub for so many days. School needs a sub for just one day. And sometimes the teachers would leave instructions. Sometimes not so much. Sometimes they would kind of be there when you get there and things like that. Mostly, though, surprisingly, it would just be elementary schools. I think it's because the area I was in mostly had elementary schools, or maybe it's just the way things were. Like, you'll have a lot of elementary schools, but then there are just less middle schools and then very less high schools. I don't know. But primarily, there were just a lot of elementary school jobs, which is just fine with me because I actually prefer working with younger kids. I don't know. I just kind of find an affinity for it. Maybe it's my ADHD because I just have so much energy and I can spread it with kids that are younger. Middle and high school just kind of runs out. The energy just kind of runs out, you know? So, yeah. And my preference, honestly, was with mostly virtual kids because I would just go into the school. They would give me the directions. They would leave me in a room and I would just kind of turn on the computer and hello, kids. And honestly, it wasn't really that bad. I'm not talking about the work that I had or anything. It was like if I needed help with how to work things, it wasn't the teachers that helped me. It was the kids. It was the students. They would say like, oh, we normally do things like this, or hey, this is like what happens and things like that. And I appreciated that, and I would spoil them, you know? It obviously didn't happen like in all schools or anything, but it was really nice to see, and I really, really appreciated that. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun too. I will admit I didn't stay too long because I found another opportunity during my internship. I was doing my internship for school counseling at the time too, so I couldn't do it all the time. I was balancing internship with substitute teaching, and yeah, it was quite a time. I would do virtual teaching. I would go into actual schools and teach in person. It wasn't quite too often. The one building I do recall, please feel free to correct me because I never got an answer to this question. And again, it might depend on the area. But there was one classroom that I recall, and that was when I went into a classroom with students that had special needs. I wasn't alone. I was working with teachers' assistants, and they helped me through everything. And I'm not used to working with other people. I feel like every time I work with other people, I'm not usually helped a lot. I would expect that if you have someone new coming into your room or someone new coming into the workplace, like they're brand new, they're learning what's going on, that they would get help. Like you would tell them what's going on. If I were to help someone new coming into my building, it's like their first day or anything, I would tell them everything that's going on. I would walk them through everything. I would expect the same for me, but no, a lot of the other buildings I went to, they didn't really walk you through anything. But I was actually helped a lot when I went into that special needs classroom. They told me everything. They told me the kids to keep an eye on. And that's another room that I actually really appreciated. And the other thing that surprised me is that normally when I go into a building, they complain so much about the kids, sometimes right in front of them. Now, again, I'm not saying this is about like all the schools, but in the area and the school that I was in at the times, like they would complain about the kids. But in that special education room that I was in, they didn't. They talked about the progress that the kids were making. They were talking about how great the kids were. It was such a breath of fresh air to hear that kind of talk. It was, honestly, it was pretty decent. It was pretty nice. Substitute teaching was pretty decent. The other thing that, pay-wise surprised me is that I was told before I started that substitutes don't get paid that much. It was like around 115, but the area that I was in had a lot of kids and a lot of difficult kids. That's what I was told. So the pay rate was higher. I think it was like 150 a day. 150 a day. Depending on like if you're working with elementary schools or high schools, the hours would be different. But I think it's like 6 to 7 hour workday, something like that. I can't remember the exact hours. But yeah, 150 to 50 a day. So it still brings in a pretty decent amount. And if you could probably even make a full-time job out of it, being a substitute teacher. Because there's constantly teachers needing a substitute. Whether they're calling off for the day, that same day, or pre-advanced stuff. There's always, and even down to this day, a teacher shortage. There's even long-time substitutes where they're placed in the school and there's like contracts for those too. So if you want to consider being a substitute, it is a thing. You could be temporary. You could even choose your own days off. I have a friend that was considering being a teacher and they tried it out. I'm not sure how it is specifically, but where I am, it's that you need a bachelor's degree. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but you need a bachelor's degree. And with that, you can just be a teacher. Not a official teacher, but you could be a substitute teacher. And you can just say like, hey, you can just say, hey, I only work Monday through Thursday. And that's what my friend did. They worked Monday through Thursday. They gave themselves a 3-day weekend and they substituted, and they're like, you know what? I do want to be a teacher. And they became a music teacher. Just with that. And it worked out with them. You can even do like, hey, Monday, Tuesday, Friday. You can kind of set up your own schedule. But if you're going to do long-term substituting, that's a whole other story. But substituting for me, yeah, no, I can't do teaching. I have to, ADHD, I have to focus on just one thing at a time. And teaching every day with a bunch of kids, and then I have to try to meet goals for the kids too, on top of what I have to do. No, thank you. I know what I can do and what I can't do, and that's one of the things. And that was already difficult enough being a daycare teacher. Bigger kids that I feel like should be able to do more, even elementary school wise. No, thank you. No, I'm good. So I honestly appreciate teachers that do what they do. Yeah, I appreciate you so much. Even as I'm school counselor right now, I appreciate you so much. Oh, that does remind me. I only ever did elementary schools, but there was one middle school that I did substitute for. It was not fun. It was not fun at all. The room that I was in, it was a co-teaching room because there were so many kids. And the teacher in there constantly was telling me to do things. Even though the kids were focusing on like taking a test and stuff, she was constantly telling me like, hey, cut this stuff. Hey, do this. Like, she did not want me to not just sit there not doing anything, even though she was sitting there not doing anything. Even when I was like getting up and just walking to another room, she's like, hey, you need to actually, you can't just, it was like near the end of the school day. She's like, hey, you have to be doing something, so go get this thing. And I walked and got like the note card she was asking me to go get. And I walked into another teacher and handed it to her. And she's like, you know, you're helping us out a lot, but there's really not much to do. And I just looked at her and I walked, and you know, I just walked away. I walked away and hid from the teacher that I was helping. When I was supposed to get back to her, I just hid. I hid. Because there was nothing much left to do. I just hid. If she's gonna push me around, then I'm gonna push away. I'm setting a boundary, and this is my boundary. I'm not gonna be told what to do if there's nothing to do. I'm not gonna be micromanaged like that. The one funny thing though, in that same middle school, was that I had a tennis ball and I was bouncing it up and down, just down the hallway. Walking to the next room, and a lady that I hadn't even gotten to the door, and she yelled, not like mad or anything, but she was like, put that tennis ball away. And I'm like, how did she know I had a tennis ball? So I went into her room and I'm like, I'm sorry. How did you know I had a tennis ball? And then she saw me and she's like, oh, I didn't realize you were a teacher. She thought I was a student that had a tennis ball. It still doesn't mean it's okay. Whatever. I don't know. I thought that was funny. Oh, man. Unfortunately, this is kind of more of a short story because I didn't stay long substitute teaching. I think that was kind of more of like a month or two, maybe a semester. Because fortunately, I did finish my internship-ish. Or did I finish it? No, I may have. No. I found another opportunity that came up. I needed something a bit more full-time. And I found another opportunity to be a professional counselor. I didn't have my license yet. You need your license to be a professional counselor. But because I was still doing my internship, I found another way to get more hours. So I have found an opportunity to get paid while getting more hours. So my next job was being a professional counselor, pre-license. And honestly, I can't wait to tell you that story because at that point, I had found my dream job. I was doing and learning school counseling, and I had taken extra courses to do what I thought I would do later on, which is professional counseling. But then once I had found this next job and tried it, I fell in love with it. And I can't wait to tell you that story. Professional counseling. Yep, it definitely was pretty good. But yeah, substituting was decent. Being with the kids is always fun. All these jobs, being with them online and all this stuff. But yeah, when I just got into professional counseling, that was it for me. Anyways, my sparkles, I honestly can't wait to share that story with you. And until next time, bye-bye!